Everyone around was watching the fight between the demon cult leader and the emperor's personal guard. The faces of the royal guards were as white as powder. Just like the eunuchs, probably because they were a little bored with Yo Woon. At this moment Yo Woon's arm suddenly raised. The black fire aura was blending and clearly revealed, but it was very difficult for anyone qualified to recognize. Lim Gyu-hwa suddenly felt worried, even though this strong man had the scales of a blood unicorn protecting his body. They all held their breath as the sect leader pointed at the guard and with this cold attitude. We were imagine what the victim's ending will be like. Of course no one knows that the male protagonist is in a very high realm, and of course he can use the invisible sword. With one swipe, the explosion broke out and a thunderstorm shot straight towards Lim Gyu-hwa at breakneck speed. General Manager Yuk Chung-eun squinted his eyes and wondered. It's just sword energy. What's so stressful? That old man really still doesn't know what fear is. His expression and thoughts were exactly the same as Lim Gyu-hwa was also silently thinking to himself. What evil pagan trick is he doing? With just that nonsense sword energy, how can he do harm? As soon as he felt the pressure and deadly aura, he was startled and tried to keep his mind calm. The most important thing right now was to take precautions to preserve his life, because the leader's actions cannot be taken lightly. Lim Gyu-hwa urgently used his mind and grabbed the sword that had been blown away at that moment. The sword moves flexibly like a whip, creating invisible waves on the middle frame like a shield. The long sword contains techniques from the heavenly swordsmanship, making the shield stronger against every attack it receives. The eunuchs seemed to want to scream in encouragement. The essence of the wave swordsmanship, trained in 10 great achievements, including many quintessence of their esoteric martial arts. The subtlety of merging and reflecting all force, that sword barrier is capable of deflecting all the power that hits it. In easier words, imagine to the counter-shock force created by martial artists in external attacks or hand-to-hand combat. Although it is described as classy, the truth is the opposite, because Lim Gyu-hwa's eyes are rolling back in surprise. The Thien Lang sword is supposed to become stronger with each attack. But it was penetrated, which is a natural thing, because Yo Woon is using an invisible sword and only he can notice it. Okay. In the moment of death, Lim Gyu-hwa quickly dodged to the side with just one move. He would most likely die. I really can't imagine such a simple and gentle move. But the power is so powerful that the soul is scattered. The priest's eyes are red but still cold as before. Is it just that Yo Woon is excited because he doesn't think the opponent will be able to avoid his sword move? The eunuchs were the ones who were truly disappointed. Even if it's such a strong energy, the attack should have been concluded by the rotational force of the sword barrier. The sword passed by Lim Gyu-hwa's right arm, and of course this is a very clear scenario. When blood poured out and drenched the ground, that arm fell to the ground with a thud before it became necrotic. Everyone heard the master, who was considered the best in martial arts, cried out majestically like a pissed-off chicken. This is the power of the invisible sword, one of the skills that only the strongest of the most advanced realms can perform. Lim Gyu-hwa was wondering how strong this person will be, and besides the pain, he also gradually feels that his fate is over. Yo Woon didn't want to waste any more time. Like a ghost of death, he appeared right after the opponent's back makes that person freeze and unable to move. Lim Gyu-hwa turned around and immediately imagined what his death would be like. So in his struggle, he began to wave his legs and arms, doing everything he could to escape the hands of the demon cult leader. The difference between a low-level expert and a high-level expert is not that big. But as a person becomes stronger, the gap between them and others will become larger and larger. Blood splashed out. A strong fishy smell filled the air, but no one paid attention to that. The cardinal's 2 fingers slid across his throat. If it were seen with the naked eye, but on closer inspection it would be invisible. The sword is the main cause of death. The person who is confident about his subordinate, the Emperor Ju Tae-1, opens his mouth and screams because it is truly more terrible than what was calculated. At the same time feeling the pain of having my throat cut and then the burning pain. These are pains that no one can describe in words. Is this really the power of life and death? Everyone has the same feeling. That feeling was oppression and fear, and I couldn't believe it even though I saw The signs of life on Lim Guo's body seemed to be gone. That eunuch who lived for more than 100 years may have finally ended life here. Yo Woon gently touched the corpse and blood flowed out. He deliberately did so to make the emperor know what demonism is like. Emperor Ju Tae-1, I really don't know what to say. After all, he asked for a competition and all. And the result is clear. Your Majesty is right. When the relationship becomes more lenient, it will obviously be considered special. Isn't that right? Lim Guo has reached the realm of the supreme and beautiful master. Even compared to the top 5 great masters in the past, he is ranked among the 3 great masters. Ran Yung is not very confident. But now she is too assured about this 24th generation leader. Those who are worried about their leader immediately become confused, or suppressed too easily. In time, Yo Woon had recently increased his power dramatically. The fight happened so fast and within 3 moves. Taoist Master Chung Su and his disciples had stunned, unbelievable expressions on their faces as they observed the fight. Battle. Taoist Master Chung Su felt that the first time he met Lim Guo was exactly the same as the time he met the master of martial arts. Yet he was cut down like a third-rate martial artist. If I'm not mistaken, the move must have been invisible. Sword. A tangible sword that is known to be invisible with invisible energy. The demon sect master has truly achieved the level of legendary sword venerable. Just like in the Flower Mountain Gate. The power of it was amazing to pierce through the heavenly wolf sword, which became harder and more solid with each attack. A small murmur was quiet and short, but its impact was huge. Most the people in here are all martial arts practitioners, so they are clearly aware of the realms of cultivation. They have heard about the realm of life and death, but no one dares to believe that any strong person in this world can achieve it. A real monster was born in the demon religion. Emperor Ju Tae-1 is very regretful because he just lost his talented servant and embarrassed his ancestors by wanting to suppress the demon religion. The king appeared dazed, scared, and even more scared when Yo Woon was in front of him. Black fire aura covered his body along with a murderous smile, asking, "Are you afraid of me, Your Majesty? I am the emperor of the great Ming Empire that rules the world. But I am afraid of this young sect leader? Get away from His Majesty immediately." Northern military officer Jung Jo was pointing his sword at Yo Woon, but his limbs looked very shaky. No one can move before this huge power, and in response the male protagonist said, "There must be some misunderstanding between both sides." Emperor Ju Tae-1 gritted his teeth in pain and regretted coming here. What did he think wrong? Are you in awe? Are you the leader of the world? Shame was clearly visible in his solemn eyes of the emperor, and he suddenly took a step back when Yo Woon approached. Stepping back means accepting submission to the opponent. This is a huge humiliation for the Emperor Ju Tae-1, ruler of the great empire. Yo Woon continued to take another step closer and raised his hand. The other person's body was exactly like the eldest son who had been floating in the air. "How dare you do that to Your Majesty?" The military officials all raised their swords and shouted and tried to attract attention, but it was of no value. While he was trying to overcome his fear, scared, a blue mirror blade was pressed against his neck as he was preparing to move. That was the Great Protector, who always wore a mask with a unique pattern. He affirmed, if he was still talkative and nonsense still. Just look at Lim Guo's head on the ground as an example. Standing not far away and ignoring the situation of life and death. Cotae shouted after him, pulled out his sword and shouted, "People, a wretched scoundrel who dares to commit blasphemy." The eunuch tried to move backwards, intending to use his sword to secretly stab him. But there was no way the leader's subordinates would let that happen. Just as he was about to aim, a column of hot fire rose up right in front of that man's face, creating a flaming wall. Ran Yung raised his hand to warn one last time. If you don't want to die like a dead dog, then stop doing those silly things. The scene was so chaotic and also ridiculous. When the royal family is threatened by a sect that also belongs to one of the major religions of the Central Plains, this is usually something Your Majesty can only say, "If Your Majesty has an advantage over me." Right. Yo Woon kept going back and forth, guessing that if it lasted too long, Emperor Ju Tae-1 would probably die of shock. A cruel reality that made his heart shudder. even though he didn't want to admit it because of the threats. That's it, but the king really has no other choice. Behind him are old eunuchs trembling and pointing their swords at Yo Woon. Old eunuch Cotae 6 spoke up. What are you doing, you bastard? Protect His Majesty the Emperor immediately. He looked towards him. There are only 5 of them. Are you planning to stand by and watch His Majesty being insulted like that? Hear that? Those guys. The other enthusiastically rushed forward. Obeyed the order. Damn you. Let Your Majesty go immediately. His face was still calm. His hand was also gently raised. His mouth was too loud. For a moment, his face cracks appeared on the ground under everyone's feet. An invisible force pressed against them, causing them all to lie down on the ground. They tried to kneel and use their hands to steady themselves. But they couldn't. The pressure was too strong for their bodies. The leading eunuch Cotae 6 could only utter a sound. How could this be possible? He thought to himself. Only with his true energy can. Yes. This is a monster, not a human anymore. He looked forward, muttering, His Majesty the Emperor. Over here. After the old emperor saw that scene, he mumbled in panic. How could a lowly person do something like this? After taking action, Yo Woon spoke up. It was finally quiet. Then let's continue talking. Inviolable treaty is to protect the founding emperor. Now do you know who is the mistaken one? Hearing that, he thought again. I have no other choice but to admit he is right. A monster like him can kill me in the blink of an eye. But I can't lose this way. He spoke up. Do you think you can solve the chaos you caused? I'm sure it's not anyone in the demon sect. He is as strong as you. Hearing that, his eyes were filled with anger. Retorting, Your life is now in my hands and you still speak so strongly? Seeing that, he pushed closer. Don't underestimate me. If you kill me, don't ask why the seawater is salty. You can't threaten my life. He just finished speaking. The knife in Yeo's hand wound quickly passed through his neck. At this time, everyone was very worried about his safety. Both the commander and the prince spoke up. His Majesty and father had the tip of the knife in their hands. He just passed by, leaving streaks of blood running down from the tip of the knife. That old emperor only now regained his composure. The sword only quickly passed through his neck, leaving a mark right on his neck. At this time, he continued, When bamboo grows old, shoots grow, so does his throne. His eyes looked at him in horror. He continued, Am I right, Crown Prince Ju Tae Gyeom? Heard that, Ju Tae Gyeom's face was sweaty. He didn't know how to answer. What did he say? He said it as if he was the one planning a coup. Heard that, Taoist Master Chung Su thought to himself. Could it be that the prince had cooperated with the demon religion? And the martial arts alliance had been supporting the Spirit King all this time? If now the emperor is killed and Crown Prince Ju Tae Gyeom ascends the throne, the situation will change. Became extremely bad. He looked at Yo Woon's figure. But the problem is that we are not strong enough to stop that person. Even if the 10 heroes join forces, we are not sure we can fight him. I never thought there would be a time when I would be so helpless. Yuan Shi Tianjun saw this. The old emperor thought, so this is the power of an ultimate expert. Now I understand why did the founding emperor tell us not to break the treaty. However, he still wondered. Something seemed wrong. He could kill me and put Crown Prince Ju Tae Gyeom on the throne. He must know that if he kills me right now, war will break out. But if he kills me in this situation, there will definitely be more bloodshed. There is no way he can don't know that. If so, then Emperor Ju Tae 1 looked at Yo Woon trying to fix his sword towards him and thought, is there something he wants from me? The demon sect leader. Suddenly, Ju Tae Gyeom suddenly appeared between the two of them, startling Yo Woon. Yo Woon spoke coldly. What are you trying to do? Hearing that, Ju Tae Gyeom trembled in response. Teaching Master Cheon, please stop. I know you are very upset about everything that has happened. But wasn't the original agreement just to stop the plot of the 6 martial arts extreme knife? Hearing that, old Emperor Ju Tae 1 remembered the 6 martial arts extreme swords. Isn't that a newly established force, wanting to become part of the treaty? Then, Yo Woon replied, I keep that's the promise. But Ju Tae Gyeom spoke up. You must not threaten His Majesty. Yo Woon replied, just like when the great empire was founded. Our demon sect also helped the emperor establish it, one-handed, but in the end he still tried to overpower us. As I said, too much pampering will create ungrateful people. It's enough for us to pamper you here. We have no more reason to continue making concessions to His Majesty and the court. Both. Yo Woon continued to say. Sorry, but I don't have time to explain the truth to your emperor right now. If you don't get out of the way quickly, don't blame the king's sword for being heartless. Ju Tae Gyeom is still very determined at this time. The king cannot avoid it. If the leader wants to kill His Majesty, then cut him down too. Yo Woon's eyes became cold. He spoke up, you try seriously. After that, he used true energy to twist the prince's right leg, causing the prince to kneel. His face became panicked. Then Yo Woon still did not stop. His hand he lifted up. Ju Tae Gyeom's other foot was also twisted by him. Only then did Ju Tae Gyeom feel the pain. He screamed. Ju Tae Gyeom fell down. His hands hugged his legs tightly. Seeing that, the emperor spoke up. What are you doing? I thought you wanted to put Ju Tae Gyeom on the throne. Yo Woon coldly replied. As long as he is alive, he will still be emperor. Hearing that, he gritted his teeth in anger. I couldn't predict what he would do next. He was completely at odds with the righteous martial artists. So this is what a demon sect is like? Over here, even though Ju Tae Gyeom's legs were crippled, he still tried to approach, hugged Yo Woon's leg and begged, please, priest, please calm down and give father away. Live. Regardless of that request, Yo Woon still coldly responded. It seems like 2 legs are not enough. Ju Tae Gyeom spoke up. Stop it, leader. Yo Woon is angry. Don't give orders, give me. Immediately, Ju Tae Gyeom's hands were twisted, making him scream in pain. At this time the old emperor spoke. I have lost. I will do everything you want. So please have mercy on me and Ju Tae Gyeom. My son. Those guardians are still under control. They can only speak. Your Majesty. How is it possible? It seems like they not wanting to submit like that. He smiled, as if he had achieved his wish. Okay. He let the emperor down and said, I will tell you my conditions at the Jinan Palace 2 days later. Please make sure you have the royal seal ready for the formal proceedings. Hearing that, the emperor thought to himself, royal seal, he really wants something. Is he planning to make a contract? Yo Woon smiled sarcastically said, I would like to express my condolences for the passing of the guard. After all, it was fun to fight with him. After speaking, Yo Woon turned around and said to his subordinates, let's go. Emperor, I'm trembling at this moment. Demon sect leader, I absolutely must not touch him. He shouted, what are you guys doing? Why don't you quickly bring my body to the royal doctor's room? A few days later, at Xingyang Palace, Prince Ju Tae Gyeom, Your Highness Prince Zhu Tae Gyeom, your lowly subordinate southern military officer, Yeon Nam Gun, has come. Yeon Nam Gun came in to ask about Ju Tae's health. Is Gyeom okay? He said, what do you think? For the first time in my life, I felt such pain. Thanks to that, for the next month, I couldn't go anywhere. That guy really doesn't have any sense. What humanity? Ju Tae Gyeom remembered Yo Woon's face at that time. He transmitted the sound to me before doing so. It will be a bit painful. Yeon Nam Gun said, but it's okay. Luckily it doesn't have any effect on the bones. Ju Tae Gyeom shook his head and agreed with him and said, the royal physician also said it wouldn't have much effect. When it heals, maybe my bones will be even stronger. That's right, I should be grateful to the demon sect master. Thinking back, actually I received a lot from him. During my treatment, father was very concerned about me. For the first time, father called I am a child. To have such trust from your majesty. This business deal is truly too much for me. Ju Tae Gyeom continued. Maybe I have to rest until the Mid-Autumn Festival. Yeon Nam Gun nodded and replied. Fortunately everything was over. I was very worried because I was afraid that your highness wouldn't be able to walk anymore. Moreover, I was also very worried because of where that cult leader could have jumped from. At any time. Finished speaking. Yeon Nam Gun thinks that your majesty's appearance is indeed a big turn of events. Although I also feel sorry for the northern military officer, Jung Jo. But I have no choice. Ju Tae Gyeom is still grumbling. If only he would be a little more gentle. That guy really is stupid at times. Right. Yeon Nam Gun. Yeon Nam Gun's face is like his face changed at Ju Tae Gyum's words. At this moment, it seemed like there was a figure behind the prince without realizing it. Who do you think? The only demon sect leader Yo-woon who is in a trance like this. Oh well, I'm still worried and don't know what's going on with you. It turns out you think I'm like this. Your Highness the Holy King. Hearing that, Prince Ju Tae Gyum quickly turned his back and stammered. Probing, Yo-woon, when did you come? I asked him while thinking. After all, this is the prince's palace. At least you should reveal your aura so people can know who is here. Yes. Then Yo-woon answered, I came just now. The prince knew for sure. You had heard everything by now, so you quickly spoke up to justify. I mean, if you were a little more gentle it would be perfect. How much? Hearing that, Yo-woon explained the matter. Yes, I understand. Has your highness discussed with his majesty like what I said? He immediately replied. Of course I said what I said. The owner said yes, but after saying that he thought about Yo-woon. The reason why I think this guy is really a monster is because Prince Ju Tae Gyum remembered the time under the tomb. The scene at that time. It appeared that while he was using true energy to control the eunuchs and the emperor, he could still change the plan immediately and transmit to me the truths I needed to tell. Regardless of his martial arts skills, his skills are so powerful. How can he do so many things at once? Next, the prince added, I said that the 6 martial arts sects were traitors who wanted to use the royal brother as a puppet, plotting to take over this great empire. The sect leader saved the royal family from their hands. Wait a little longer. Your Majesty will understand. The patriarch heard what the prince said correctly. I told you so. Yo-woon smiled and said, it's okay if he doesn't sympathize with me, because I have already achieved my goal. Hearing that, the prince said again, but leader, if you don't, I'm shy. Can I ask you a question? After listening, Yo-woon said, tell me. The prince spoke up. Can you tell me what you want to ask His Majesty? You said you have achieved your goal. Do you need anything else? Hearing that, Yo-woon replied leisurely, not really a request. I was planning to make a proposal that the king could not refuse. He remembered the scene when he met the king at the Jinan Palace on the same day. This time later, when I finished making the request. That was it. If you refuse, as I said before, you just need to proceed with the inviolability treaty as usual. After hearing that, the emperor looking at the document and thinking, you can clearly do it. But you don't force me. You mean it's okay for me to refuse? Right. While thinking, his hand held the Jade Sister to close a confirmation of Yo-woon's request. With a bang, the royal seal was closed, through which Yo-woon's request was approved by the emperor. Yo-woon's face smiled with satisfaction, because his purpose has been fulfilled. Then the scene changes to 10 days after the incident in the imperial tomb. Hanam province base of the Murim Alliance. Inside is 17 Masters meeting room, but it seems some heroes were absent today. Then everyone asked Taoist Master Chung Su, what do you mean? The demonic cult leader. How could he be at the imperial palace? I don't know the details, but it seemed like Prince Chen has something to do with it. At this time a monk next to him spoke up. Amitabha, but why is the 6 martial arts method able to take advantage of your royal highness to infiltrate the palace? He is Murim Alliance 17 Masters 4th seat Hengshan sect leader. Sa Tae. Then the old monk next to him also asked again. Like what he said, the 6 martial arts sword can even touch officials. If they get hold of the mandarins, the martial arts world will be in chaos. And he is Murim Alliance 17 Masters 2nd seat Shaolin Temple head. Great Master Gak Yin, next a person dressed as a Taoist, while stroking his beard, replied, chaos is not bad. The position of our martial arts alliance will also be in danger. If we think about that aspect, shouldn't we thank the demon cult leader? This person is Murim Alliance 17 Masters 6th seat Mount Hua sect leader. Peng Chung Woon. Hearing that, Murim Alliance 17 Masters 17th seat Hubei Peng clan patriarch Peng Guyu spoke up. You've always been so optimistic about the demonic cult leader after your visit to the demonic cult. Hearing that, the sect leader Peng replied. And the Peng family leader is always aggressive. His appearance of trying to fulfill his duty as a martial artist is very respectable. Hearing such provocation, Peng Guyu immediately stomped on the table and shouted, "What? What do you say? How can you say that? Are you making fun of me?" After hearing the gossip, like that, Taoist Master Chung Su, who was shaking with anger, he slammed his hand on the table loudly. The poor Taoist still hasn't reported everything. At this time a man was at the end of the table looked towards him. "So you still haven't said the main idea?" He clasped his hands to appear calm. "Heroes, please be quiet to listen to what he has to say. So this is Murim Alliance head Righteous North Sword, Li Mok." After he spoke, everyone stopped talking. He said, "Taoist Master Chung Su, please finish talking." In the room everyone became silent. Taoist Master Chung Su continued to report. When he heard about the personal guard of Emperor Lim Guhua, who was one of the 5 great masters of the Central Plains about 90 years ago, as well as the Maelstrom Sword Emperor, everyone was surprised. But after Taoist Master Chung Su continued speaking, the heroes' faces stiffened for a moment. At this moment he emphasized once again, the demonic cult leader killed the Maelstrom Sword Emperor. That was also because he mocked the demon cult leader. Hearing that, the other people's faces were covered in sweat, stammering and asking again, "What? That makes sense at all. One of the 5 great masters died at the hands of a 20-something-year-old demon cult leader." The guy next to him also said, "Isn't the Maelstrom Sword Emperor at least at the mystic realm? That means he's on par with the Murim Alliance head." After hearing that shocking news, sect leader Peng exclaimed, "Dear primeval Lord of Heaven," twice to reassure himself. He also asked again, "Sect leader Yo Woon is definitely not a strong person to the point of being able to defeat the 5 great masters. Or maybe Taoist Master Chung Su saw wrongly." Taoist Master Chung Su trembled. His eyes still filled with a trace of courage and replied, "I did not see wrongly. I have met many martial artists from the demon sect. But he is very different." Sect leader Peng retorted, "What is the difference? After all he is the leader of the demon sect. More or less. You have not." After speaking, he was interrupted by Taoist Master Chung Su. It wasn't just that he didn't know anything about martial arts. He remembered Yo Woon's expression at that time. "If you see it with your own eyes, you'll know. Thanks to me, far beyond the limits of a human. Maybe a demon god. We should call him a demon god," he said with a scared face. Seeing his panicked attitude like that, Sa Tae spoke next to him. "Amitabha, a demon god. It seems Taoist Master Chung Su has encountered too many things so his mind is still confused. Please drink a cup of tea." As soon as she finished speaking, his anger grew. Finally were the heroes listening to me. The demonic cult leader pieced through the personal guard's absolute barrier with the formless sword. Not only that, he was even able to take down more than 300 expert martial artists with just his true energy. After his words suddenly a hand was raised to stop. Wait. It turned out to be the hand of the leader Li Mok. He wanted to ask the question again, the last topic Taoist Master Chung Su mentioned. "Do you just say, formless sword? Do you realize what that implies?" Taoist Master Chung Su replied, "Of course yes. He's a martial artist at the life and death realm." After this information was confirmed again, everyone was surprised and frightened. Even martial arts leader Li Mok, the person with the highest martial arts position here, could not help but be surprised. Fear, the life and death realm. But it seemed like someone didn't believe that, and even laughed. It sounded so absurd. The person next to me followed suit. "Isn't that realm only found in legends?" Sa Tae the monk also suspiciously said. "Hasn't it been long since Peng Chung Woon met the demon cult leader? How could his martial arts suddenly increase so quickly?" Seeing everyone's suspicion like that, Taoist Master Chung Su didn't even bother to explain. He sat down on the chair and said, "So no matter what I say, you guys won't believe." Over here, Master Li Mok is still silently thinking. The life and death realm. No, I can't believe it. But if what he said was true, then all the forces of martial arts would be shaken. Suddenly, the sound of someone's footsteps running and hitting the floor was a scholar. Alliance head. "It's from the supervisor. We're received an urgent message from the branch in Kaifeng. The palace has just announced they will be changing the national religion of the Ming Empire to the heavenly demon divine cult." Just after hearing the news, Li Mok's face turned to sweat. He asked again, "What are you talking about?" The scene now changed to at the Jinan Palace of the Empire. At this time the emperor is sitting on the throne. Below are two ministers. They are trying to dissuade. Your Majesty, please reconsider. Please withdraw the announcement about national religion. Your Majesty, there are so many great religions. Why do you choose the demon religion? At this time West Hall commanded. Yu Chung-un spoke up. Your Majesty, the demon religion people do not agree with the great empire where, especially the demon leader, Yo Woon, made His Majesty, Emperor Ju Tae-1. As soon as he heard that minister intending to repeat the old story, he immediately angrily hit the chair. I said, about what I encountered in the royal mausoleum. I was not allowed to say a word. But, when he heard that, he knew that he had accidentally mentioned a taboo. So he quickly bowed his head and asked for forgiveness. Your Majesty and your servants have committed a crime. Out of respect, he repeatedly kicked his head against the floor. Seeing that he was also interested, His Majesty told him to stop. Stop it. He did not dare open his eyes to look forward. His forehead was full of blood. His mouth was whispering. Spoke up, thanking His Majesty's pardon. At this time, Emperor Ju Tae-1 raised his chin and spoke. I want to ask, what do you think about the enemy's enemy? At this time, Inner Branch Hall Commander, Cotae-6 spoke up. Please forgive me for speaking up. The enemy of my enemy is my ally. Hearing that, Emperor Ju Tae-1 also agreed. Yes, Sect Master Yo Woon told me that. He remembered Yo Woon's words. I have said it before. I want to ask something. If you were the king, what would you do to the enemy's enemy? He remembered and deduced Yo Woon's question. But the question of Yo Woon, the leader of the religion, and I were different, because Yo Woon don't ask me what I think, but ask me what I will do. Hearing that, Cotae-6 continued to speak. But Your Majesty, if you say so, then the Righteous Martial Arts Alliance is also the enemy of extreme swords. 6 Martial Arts. Moreover, the Martial Arts Alliance also has a good relationship with the Great Empire. Hearing that, Emperor Ju Tae-1 replied, what have such insignificant people done? Taoist Master Chung Su, one of the 10 heroes of the Martial Arts Alliance, just stood by and watched while I was insulted, while my weaker subordinates sacrificed their lives. Hearing that guy couldn't either. Having justified the matter, the emperor continued, this is a matter of extreme swords and 6 martial arts rebels. Those rebels are terrifying enemies. They are targeting me, the great empire. His hand trembled as he clenched his fists. Marry the Golden Lord. If the Martial Arts Alliance cannot help us even though we have made a contract with each other, then is there any reason to let them become the state religion? Hearing the emperor say so, Cotae trembling, stiff all over. They have served the emperor for so long. How can they not understand his personality? They have underestimated the emperor's personality too much. That he is a direct pursuer thoroughly in politics. But they were wrong. They did not think everything through, paid attention to the emperor's feelings and did not predict this matter carefully. But we will withdraw this matter. His hand was completely out of the plan. But those who planted spies in the palace did not let go so easily. He understood that he could not hastily make emotional decisions, but had to think more rationally. Suddenly recalled the ability of that monster Yo Woon. With just one single hand, countless inner masters had to kneel to the ground. The power was truly beyond imagination. Moreover, he had a clever strategy. Be obedient to destroy all the plots of the evildoers. Use poison to fight poison. Thinking so, the emperor shouted loudly, you hear clearly. The reason I chose the heavenly demon god religion as the state religion is to restrain the 6 martial arts extreme swords. If you have not come up with any best solution, then don't ask me to revoke the state religion. Finally, under the emperor's decision, the 2 elders looked at then we decided not to dissuade them anymore. Because the emperor's words just now went well. At this time, the 2 of us communicated to each other. Maybe we should leave. After all, His Majesty has given us another chance to suggest a better solution. Return to Henan Province base of the Murim Alliance. After the emperor's announcement of adopting the celestial demon religion as the state religion, the officials' conference rooms had to be lit from morning until late every day. From the perspective of a power that had made an agreement with the celestial demon cult, To fight against the 6 extreme paths of martial arts. This is no different from a punch in their back. And another thing that is being debated is the martial arts of the demon sect leader Yo Woon. Demonstrated by peerless masters, able to understand the power of the formless sword. They were already in their twilight years. So they couldn't understand when they heard Taoist master Chung Su say that someone so young had broken through to the life and death realm. During the chaos, a guest at the palace came. After hearing what the other guest said, Monk Sa Tae was the first to speak. Amitabha, Lord Miju, is that true? This person is the Imperial Palace great flourishing depot spy. Miju, he said, it is. I was told that the Emperor would be willing to take back his decision if there is a better solution suggested. As soon as the words were finished, the Alliance head Li Mok showed a passionate expression. Thinking, the heroes sighed. The Emperor was insulted, but Taoist Master Chung Su just stood and watched? Your Majesty is therefore disappointed in martial arts alliance. It's also obvious, isn't it? The Kongtong sect is now out of date. More and more eyes are focused on Taoist Master Chung Su. The resentment and distrust makes Taoist Master Chung Su understand that, no matter how I explain, it's useless. He immediately spoke up. Dear Primeval Lord of Heaven. Oh dear Primeval Lord of Heaven. Despite all my efforts to warn them about the power of cult leader Cheo, if they refuse to believe me, there is nothing more that I can do. He stood up and continued. It's a shame that we are in this situation. I will excuse myself to take responsibility. At this time, Hubei Peng clan patriarch spoke up. He said it sounds really simple. It's obvious that you told yourself to leave to prevent this incident. In the end, you caused things to turn out like this and now you blame yourself for running away. Taoist Master Chung Su at this moment. He was speechless. Hubei Peng clan patriarch continued to speak as if adding fuel to the fire. What's wrong? You feel angry with me. Now you have 10 mouths and you can't explain it. Taoist Master Chung Su replied. That's right, no matter what I say. I can't explain it. It's because I'm weak that I let things become so serious. I accept that, but... He rolled up his sleeves, took a deep breath and continued. If Hubei Peng clan patriarch was there, you would do the same. I dare to take out my arm to bet. To hear these words, by Taoist Master Chung Su, Peng Guyu was shocked, rolled his eyes and said, What? Peng Guyu replied, Taoist Master Chung Su, can you take responsibility for what you just said? Okay, I will show my strength to you. Peng Guyu is determined not to give up. Peng Guyu clasped his hands and said, Alliance head, send me to the Imperial Palace. I will meet His Imperial Majesty and change his mind myself. I will fix this situation. Hearing Peng Guyu so confident, Alliance head Li Mok thought to himself, that's good. Anyway, no one volunteered now. He asked again, Hubei Peng clan patriarch, are you sure? Peng Guyu is confident. Please leave the Alliance head to me. He thinks that after inheriting this position, I won't be able to make any achievements. Take this opportunity. I have to prove my strength. Suddenly at this time someone spoke up. Dear Alliance head, I will also enter the palace with Peng Guyu. To the surprise of the Alliance head speechless Yin Buso's opinion. Muram Alliance head Righteous North Sword. Li Mok has adopted 3 orphans as his foster children. Mo Yuju, Kong So-ah, Yin Buso. The 3 brothers all possess a talent for martial arts that anyone would aspire to. But among them, Yin Buso, the successor who was taught wholeheartedly by the 7 sect masters, is the future of the new era of martial arts alliance. Alliance head Li Mok thought to himself. Perhaps because the opponent was a teacher, master of the demon sect. So Yin Buso seemed interested. Thinking back, I was always compared to the master of the previous demon sect. After all, the rivalry was always a source of motivation to help me break through. Although my own limits are dangerous, this is still a good experience. Alliance head Li Mok is satisfied. Okay. At this time, Yin Buso turned to Peng Guyu and said, although there are still some shortcomings, but I will try my best to help the Hubei Peng clan patriarch to the end. Peng Guyu also happily replied, it is an honor to accompany young master Yin Buso. Not forgetting to sarcastically turn to Taoist Master Chung Su. Please young master prepares the weapons. And I have to improve my chances of getting Taoist Master Chung Su's arm. Peng Guyu thought to himself. The genius who has managed to become so powerful in just 3 months is coming with me. Everything will become more favorable. Taoist Master Chung Su smacked his lips and thought. When considering temper, Peng Muwo would have been a better fit to be a master. It was you who ignored my warnings, Master Peng. The demonic cult leader is not merciful to anyone. Although I don't expect him to die. But I'm curious he will come back with what face. Master Peng. 3 days later at the Dragon Palace. At this time Miju of the inner factory took the lead, giving orders to the guards. These people were the envoys of the Martial Arts Alliance. Please quickly issue a passport. Then turned to Peng Guyu and said, Master Peng, please wait here for a moment. He replied, okay, no problem. Peng Guyu continued, but I see that monk Sa Tae doesn't need to show his face. She clasped her hands and recited in response. Great Master Gak Yin said, Buddhism can be used as a backup plan. So I'll go along. Wanted to try it once. Amitabha. Peng Guyu turned around and smiled and said, so Sa Tae the monk has a personal mission assigned by Great Master Gak Yin. Okay, first let's meet your majesty and talk. His majesty hasn't demolished the temple yet, so it shouldn't be too difficult to convince him. Peng Guyu said, what if the demon cult leader isn't here? What should we do? I see Yin young Master Buso was looking forward to it. Yin Buso smiled and replied, yes. Yin Buso thought to himself, I still haven't met the master of the demon sect. I heard Taoist Master Chung Su lavishing praise on the master of the demon sect. So, I'm really curious what kind of person he is. I heard that the guardian's body hasn't been cremated yet, so I can still check and search there. Moreover, it was only a few months ago that I heard he was at the evolutionary realm. But he's improved enough to use the formless sword already. In short, the only thing we can be sure of right now is that he has evolved to the level of others. It's hard to grasp the cultivation level. It's interesting. It seems that God doesn't like my solo performance in the righteous sect. Although Yin Buso has defeated many experts since appearing in the martial arts world. But he is still constantly disappointed. Because no one at his age can be as strong as him. Currently, there are only a few among the 17 masters who can win against him in a duel. Only then did Yin Buso know that he is a genius. If he is truly my rival, then God will let us confront each other. Even if the demon sect leader avoids it. No matter how much you avoid me. At this time, a eunuch ran out with a bright look. Lord Miju, it's not over. He saw that and immediately replied. Where is the travel document? The eunuch presented the document. Mouth stammered. Here, but Miju said, he doesn't need to rush. Just speak slowly. He said loudly in panic. With the coming of the disciples of the demonic cult this morning, the shutdown of the temples has been pushed ahead. The crowd of martial arts men is now all shocked and panicked. What do you say? Miju turned and said, no, we have to hurry to see His Majesty. Towards Monk Sa Tae will go to prevent the destruction of the Dharma Hall. They split up, each in their own direction, moving straight forward. At this time Yin Buso smiled and thought, the demon sect leader, he is also there here. Right now at the temple southwest of the Dragon Palace. Main Temple 3 Purities Hall. The eunuchs are preventing the demon cult from dismantling the temple. Evil demon cultists, get out of the temple of religion. Immediately. A shot in the chest for those who dare to stop the demonic cult. He fell backwards. Who are you calling those cruel demonic cultists? His Majesty has ordered we have built the temple of the demon god religion. Do you dare to resist His Majesty's orders? Another guy spoke up. When the messengers of martial arts come here, you will not be able to act majestically. No more weird things like this. You bastards. Right now behind you is Hio Bong, with a burning fire in his hand and saying, it seems like a blessing. After Hio Bong finished speaking, he set fire to the flames in his hand towards a nearby tree. In just a split second the tree quickly caught fire and turned into ashes. The scene at that time terrified the Taoists. They realized the terrible heat of that fire. What the hell kind of evil magic was that? Evil people. Hio Bong said loudly at this time. Whoever stops here, I will burn everything now. While I can still talk properly. Quickly go away. Suddenly, a group of people rushed forward. Hio Bong couldn't help but turn in surprise. They were so crowded that they surrounded them and formed a formation that covered them, and at the same time blocked the way forward. Rise of shamanism. Suddenly a voice spoke up. Amitabha. Luckily there was still time. Sa-tae, the monk continued. Even though we are allies. But everything has to happen. The donor saw the expression of she made Hyo Bong wonder. An ally? Who is she? Why did she tell us not to exceed the limit? Hearing that, she looked towards Hyo Bong, pensive because she realized the different on his body. What is this? There is a very different aura radiating from his body. In her eyes. Around him radiates a source of crimson energy that covers him like armor. A person he looks like he's only in his 20s but he radiates such aura. He must be at the evolutionary realm. A thought appeared in her mind. Could it be that he is the demon cult leader? Sure enough, no wonder Taoist Master Chung Su misunderstood. But he definitely hasn't reached the life and death realm. Then she approached Hyo Bong and spoke. Amitabha. The poor monk is Sa-tae. I am the head of the Hangshan sect. Please get out of here with your cult members. Seeing her say that, Hyo Bong immediately objected. Suddenly she appeared and said what she meant. Her face became angry. Responded loudly. Really good. How dare you pull out this dirty plan? This is the territory of our political faction. Please don't disobey our allies. Heard her words in vain. With such logic, Hyo Bong looked up at the sky and wondered. Since when was the royal palace a wasteland for the political sect? Your attitude made her angrier. Ahem. Amitabha. She was now holding her hand to the hilt. Looking for thoughts, I was completely able to suppress him and said. The poor monk has already warned me. At this time her eyes became sharper and more determined. She is the demon leader. You seek punishment yourself. Don't. Suddenly a voice appeared behind her. Don't regret anything. It turned out Yo Woon. I don't know when appeared behind her. Because of that surprise her eyes became panicked. As fast as lightning, she pulled out her sword, turned around, attacked him and shouted, Who are you? But the sword she just swung out. He pointed out, with 2 fingers to block it. The sword broke into 2 pieces. Yo Woon saw her being so aggressive so he grabbed her neck and said, You were the one who swung the sword first. He grabbed her collar then lifted her up with one hand. At this time her hands were trying to struggle. But she couldn't escape his hand. She thought to herself, I can use counterattack energy. This skill is too powerful. At that moment, the sounds of kneeling on the ground appeared. The parishioners knelt down, their hands clasped in front of them. They spoke at the same time. I greet the demon lord. For the demonic way. Heard that her face changed color. Sweat flowed all over her face. What? Yo Woon looked at her and said. Come on Sa-tae sect leader. Then she knew she was looking at the wrong person. He was the leader. Demon sect. At this moment, Sa-tae's chief disciple saw an indescribable scene before his eyes. What? It was just a big catch. But the sect leader couldn't even move. At this time, she transmitted the sound to her teammate. Junior brother, if you keep fighting like this, you will be in trouble. Use the serial sword harmony when I signal you. Hearing that, she replied, Yes. Then the other disciple signaled. Now, the 2 of them used their fastest speed to rush straight forward. Then they gained momentum and jumped strongly into the air. To a high height surely they kicked hard in the air and used the momentum to fly straight down. At this time, the 2 of them were in a position to swing their swords. They rushed down and shouted loudly. Quickly release my master. That evil devil was about to strike when 2 people suddenly appeared to attack them. It turned out that they were one of the 6 swords Wang Hul and the Great Protector. 2 female disciples. The stick leader shot a few meters away. At this time Wang Hul's hand was still emitting aura. Wang Hul smiled at the 2 monks who had just attacked. That's not how you should speak to the demon lord. After receiving the attack from Wang Hul and the Great Protector, the 2 disciples of the master held their stomachs, trembling and said, He only threw 1 kick but the impact was so powerful. He is a genius. Very strong defense. At this time, Hyo Bong looked over and saw his friend. He happily spoke up. Wang Hul. Hearing that, Wang Hul smiled and replied. Hyo Bong, long time no see. You must have been busy following the demon lord around. Wang Hul was talking suddenly he stopped. He looked towards Hyo Bong. What? I was happy because I was the only one in the 6 swords troop who had reached the evolutionary realm. But looking at Hyo Bong's aura, He must be at a higher level than me. If he really is higher in the martial realm, like his aura shows, he might take first place in the Six Swords troop. At this moment suddenly a loud scream came from on the monk Sate's side. She was trying to put her internal force into her palms. Her eyes were screaming in anger. She was the one who brought disaster on herself. Then she used her palms to hit hard her chest, emitting a powerful storm of ice towards the leader of the demon sect. With internal force, her move spread around, then wrapped around Yo Woon's body, and then spread out. The surrounding area caused the tile floor to burst out. At this moment, she turned around and looked back at Yo Woon, but he was not hurt in the slightest. She was surprised and speechless. It couldn't be. He managed to deflect my indirect strike, which I've mastered. Only then did she think about what happened at the meeting. So what Taoist Master Chung Su said was true. At this moment Yo Woon looked towards her with colorful eyes. On her side, this monk is truly cruel. He used more force on his hand, making her not just scream devil, demon monk. This poor monk is the top monk of the Martial Arts Alliance. Before first, let go of your hand so we can talk. As soon as her voice ended, there was a rustling sound accompanied by her arm flying out. Because her noble words made me pay a huge price, even though she was a top expert in the Martial Arts Alliance. She couldn't help but scream at the pain of losing her arm. At the same time, he threw her forward, despite the wound on his hand still bleeding. Yo Woon replied coldly, "Since we are allies, I will stop." At this time my disciple's monk Sa Tae was also extremely confused. The head of the sect known as the Sword Queen was so easily defeated. Then Yo Woon turned around and ordered his subordinates to arrest everyone. "Give it to me. Anyone who resists can just cut it." Hearing that, they all replied in unison. Clearly. At this time the scene changed to at the Jinan Palace, the emperor's residence. At this moment, the martial arts messengers just entered and saw a subordinate being pressed down by an invisible pressure. Unable to stand up, he spoke up, "I can't lift my knees." Seeing that, Master Peng was also surprised by this scene. It was surprising. I suspected that he had reached the realm of true anti-law. Just a kid under 30 years old but had already reached the mystical realm. It turned out that it was a scene created by Yin Buso, a disciple of the Alliance Master. He was using his aura to put pressure on the court's martial arts officials, making Master Peng exclaim, "Very funny. Maybe in my time I will produce the best master in the world." After thinking about it, he also told him to stop. "That's enough. Quickly control your true energy." Young Master Yin Buso finished speaking. Then Master Peng turned around, spoke up from behind, "Your Majesty, do you see? This is the martial position of Yin Buso, who will become one of the 5 great masters of the Central Plains in the future." Hearing that, the emperor exclaimed, "5 great masters." At this time, Master Peng's mind was simply thinking that, at all costs, he must make His Majesty remember clearly that the Righteous Alliance has the power to protect the royal family stronger than the demon sect. I just saw Yin Buso's good performance, I thought. "Master, please don't worry, you've done a very good job for that role." While thinking, at this moment a snapping sound came from the king's side. After that snapping sound, there was the sound of footsteps quickly entering continuously, making Yin Buso also surprised, not knowing what was going on. At this time the main hall was filled with 300s of military officials of the afternoon court. This crowded scene made Peng Guyu and Yin Buso not know what Your Majesty's intentions were. They stammered, "Your Majesty." Could it be that they don't know how to ask? At this time, His Majesty spoke up. 300 people is the number of people who have to kneel before a wave of the demon leader's hand. "You are Yin Buso, right? Try to do it again for me." Hearing this he was surprised and couldn't believe it was true. He was motionless and didn't know how to handle it. He heard that as if he couldn't believe his ears. His face was surprised at that unreasonable request from the emperor. After listening, he regained his composure, then analyzed carefully. 300 people. Did I hear correctly? His face was sweaty. He looked towards the military officers who had just entered, now bowing down to perform the ceremony. He made the judgment that Master Peng alone could defeat these people. But using only true energy to make them kneel is a completely different matter. I just used all my strength to only be able to take out 100 people. Moreover, I can only limit it to 2 seconds. With just a wave of my hand, I can defeat 300 people. Either way, I think it's impossible." He seemed upset and didn't know how to handle it. At this time, the king, after making the request and seeing no response from them, spoke up. "What's wrong? Can't do it?" Sounds like that Master Peng thought to himself. His Majesty is too flamboyant. He definitely wants the young master to show off something. At this moment, Yin Buso also thought she could guess what he meant. Okay, something like that is always exaggerated. But being compared in front of the emperor like this, he wondered if you were really a worthy opponent. Demon Sect Master. After thinking about it, Yin Buso finally responded to the king. "There can be no such thing. Your Majesty." Yin Buso clasped his hands together to make a request. But if imitating what someone has done is a violation of the self-respect of a martial arts practitioner, the villain asked for permission to perform for someone else. Hearing that, the king became excited. He curiously asked again, "Something else?" Right after that, he immediately took action instead of answering. He put his hand forward. Suddenly the swords of the martial officers in the main hall flew out of the martial arts quickly. Those swords now floating in the air, surprising the military officials. "Oh there, my sword." Seeing that, the king was also a little surprised. He let out a loud sound. The others, after calming down, realized that this was the magical sword. Yin Buso was now using his true energy to control those swords. The surrounding people spoke up and asked, "Master of the hall, isn't that the magic of the sword?" At this time, an old mandarin spoke up to explain, "Your Majesty, that technique it's a superior technique that requires the level of the 5 great masters to be able to perform it." When the king heard that, he asked in confusion, "5 great masters?" He asked the old mandarin again. "So the magic the owner is also a master of the 5 great masters?" Hearing that, the old mandarin replied, "No, I heard that the previous leader of the demon sect was one of the 5 great masters." The emperor replied superficially, "Is that so?" But actually in his heart he thought, "Those who fight for the top position in the world are called the 5 great masters. So the demon sect master has dealt with that Lim Guhua. How strong is he? Will he become a leader in the future? One of the 5 great masters." With the current situation, even if the master of martial arts came personally to prove his martial arts position, it would still be a shortcoming. He looked towards those hovering swords. Yet the leader of martial arts alliance sent such a kid? Emperor Ju Tae-1 thought to himself. "I'm curious to know, if he fights against the demon leader, will he still maintain his dignity?" Can you believe that? Right now, Yin Buso is still focusing on showing off his moves. He thinks that with this one move, he will change his Majesty's thinking. Just thinking after that, he used his legs to rotate around to form a circle on the floor of the main hall. Yin Buso stood inside the circle and excitedly spoke up. "Your Majesty, in this palace, the villain will not move even a single step and block all attacks from the eunuchs." Hearing his confidence like that, the king now raised his hand to prepare to give orders. It will be very interesting. Later he gave the order to attack. Immediately the martial arts officers surrounding him quickly rushed straight at him. But at this moment, with absolute confidence in his strength, he easily controlled him. The flying swords were aimed in front of the martial officers, causing them to quickly dodge. Then his hand formed a sword seal. A surrounding aura gathered into his finger. Suddenly, his surroundings were now surrounded by a large whirlwind, covering him completely, making it impossible for those military officials to approach. And they were even hit by the wind from the storm, causing him to step back and scream. Where did the wind come from? Right after that he released his energy. The wind disappeared, but the air was radiated around, blowing away all the people, martial officers nearby, and that was an earth-shattering sword transformation technique. After that demonstration, the martial officers fell on the floor of the main hall, and not a single person could stand after that attack. At this moment, even the king had a little surprise for him. He let out a wow sound. Those martial arts officials were now struggling to stand up, their mouths stammering. This wind of true energy was really strong. How could he use such a sublime move? At this moment, Yin Buso was happy that he had performed it. His father's sword with a sword. He happily expected the attitude from the king. "What do you see, Your Majesty?" but contrary to his expectations. The king's expression was now full of disappointment. I spoke up. Is that all? This also made him extremely surprised by that indifferent attitude. What was that indifferent expression? Was he not surprised at all by his martial arts skills? Seeing that, Master Peng also spoke up. Your Majesty, the martial arts that young Master Yin Buso just performed, if not a level 5 master. Then before he finished speaking, His Majesty interrupted. You think I don't know what about the 5 great masters? The king now spoke up and asked Yin Buso. I know you are an outstanding person. Hearing that, he did not know what his subordinates meant. So he probed. Sorry, Your Majesty. Ha. And the next sentence must have made him freeze. But can you defeat your father with just 3 moves? Hearing that, he could only answer, yes. After hearing that question, I know that no matter what I do, I will not change the king's opinion. Because, although I have reached the mystical realm, my father is the leader in swordplay. How can someone like that? Seeing his attitude, the king was able to understand the answer. He sighed and then said, Okay, my decision remains unchanged. You can leave now. Hearing the answer from the emperor. At this moment Master Peng quickly knelt down to pray. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. If so, then the heavenly demon god religion will truly become the state religion. He is making a request. Pray. Your Majesty, I know that you are very disappointed because of what happened last time. But, interrupting his words, a Taoist from afar ran into the main palace. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Your Majesty saw this and immediately asked, What's going on out there? Was answered. It was the Taoist monks who were praying for an audience. Your Majesty, when you heard that, you immediately gave the order, letting them in. At this time the Taoist priest knelt down. Before the emperor spoke up, he visited the emperor of the great empire. Seeing that he had something to do, he replied, I was talking to the envoy who came first. What is the matter? Your Majesty's teacher asked, so he also spoke directly about the issue. Your Majesty, please clarify, hasn't religion been respected by the great empire all this time? Why do you allow the demon religion? The master and his cruel subordinates dissolved the temple. Hearing that, Yin Buso, he suddenly smiled. The demon cult leader is here. He looked to the side to transmit sound. Master Peng, everything it's simpler now, as if he understood what he meant. Without any reason, he continued to clarify his intention that I will confront the demon cult leader head on and complete this negotiation. At this time, the emperor also answered the question of the Taoist priest who had just come to visit. That is my decision that will not change. Once you understand, everyone will quickly leave. Hearing that, Master Peng and Yin Buso clasped their hands in response. I beg your pardon, Your Majesty. Even though the Taoist priest kneeling in the main hall protested. Your Majesty, please clarify. Your Majesty. Him, still trying to sway the emperor's mind with empty words. But now only he knows what they are thinking. They turned around like they gave up, but I know it in my heart. What do they think? They heard the story of the demon leader's appearance and his eyes sparkled. He looked at the backs of them leaving and exclaimed, Being too curious can easily lead to a short life. I have thought about you all. After leaving the king's palace, the people of the Martial Arts League are moving quickly, under the lead of Miju. Moving behind are Yin Buso and Master Peng. But Yin Buso suddenly asked, Lord Miju, you also saw the demon leader, right? Miju replied, Just saw it? Miju continued, Honestly, if we hadn't directly confronted that day with the demon leader, I will never understand that feeling. He is not human. He is a monster. No, it should be called a demon god. Hearing that, he immediately thought again. He said exactly the same as Taoist Master Chung Su. This made him grip his sword tighter. The corpse said it was dangerous. But I couldn't hide my excitement. In the end now they have also reached the main hall of the temple that appears before their eyes. Master Peng raised his voice at this time. He saw the silhouettes of other allies of the Martial Arts Alliance in danger. Dangerous inside that main hall. The image of the nuns of Hengshan sect being controlled by people of the demon sect. Seeing this, immediately Peng Guyu sped up and said, Yin Buso, this homeowner will attack first. In his heart he thought, the time has come. The time has finally come to me. Then he immediately ordered, Draw your swords, fighters of the Hubei Peng clan. It's time to rescue the brothers and sisters of our alliance. At this moment, Suddenly an aura emanated from the main hall as if there was a black snake, with red eyes staring at it. His bait made Yin Buso's feet feel like they were dangerously stopped. He secretly felt that on the other side of that high wall, there was such a terrifying aura. Is that really human luck? He quickly raised his hand in front of him to warn. Wait, stop, Master Peng, but it seemed too late. Just in his eyes the screams rang out. He clicked his tongue in regret. Damn, couldn't think much anymore at this point. Yin Buso also sped up to see the situation of what is Master Peng like. Right now in front of Yin Buso is the scene of Master Peng lying down on the floor, by a young man, his face covered in blood. The other fighters just had time to step in and stand back, not knowing what to do next. Yin Buso's face now showed surprise and panic. His face was covered in sweat and he was motionless, because in just a moment, the other guy was dead. After defeating one of the 10 heroes of the martial arts league, he could only lie trembling at his feet without being able to do anything. At this time, Yo Woon used his hand to gently wipe the blood on his face. Spoke up. It seemed like there were a lot of people today. He held up Master Peng's hand. His face looked like a demon god in the world and said coldly. He really wanted to have his arm amputated. The story goes that the Hebei Peng clan is a famous clan that makes it in the top 3 for blade techniques. Peng Muol, a brother from a different mother, and the Hebei Peng clan's patriarch, Peng Guyu, who is one of the top 5 bladesmen in the Orthodox Murim Alliance. He had ambitions to become the central character in the Murim Alliance. However, the 6 martial arts extremely dangerous. There is too little information about the 6 martial arts poles to fight them. And they are too strong. That's when he saw an opportunity. The demon god religion had become the state religion of the great empire. And the Taoist master Chung Su was the reason for this and had withdrawn from the 12th seat of the alliance. At that time, Peng Guyu secretly calculated that if Taoist master Chung Su withdrew, the other masters would be promoted. But that alone was not enough. We needed to reach a higher position. He rushed in and destroyed it. The gate rushed away and thought, which one of them is the leader of the demon sect? Then Peng Guyu aimed at a back figure wearing the red robe. Peng Guyu thought to himself, it must be him. I'm sure that guy is the leader of the demon sect. His aura is different from the rest. I'll leave him to young master Yin Buso to deal with. But looking at the man in the red shirt, Peng Guyu said, but I don't feel anything about this guy. But Peng Guyu is still determined. Okay, then I'll start with you. But I didn't expect that person to avoid it. Is it a transformation? Taste. Yo Woon turned the situation around, catching Peng Guyu's life. Just one swing of Yo Woon's sword was enough to clearly make Peng Guyu lose. At this time, Yo Woon's internal attack made Peng Guyu fearless. He collapsed immediately, as if standing before a ghost. Peng Guyu wondered, this true energy. At that time Peng Guyu was frightened. Who the hell is he? Wait a minute, could it be that? Peng Guyu seemed to have realized something then. His head was hit hard on the ground. It was the demon sect leader. The demon sect leader asked harshly. It seems there is a many people. Under the witness of everyone. Demonic cult leader Yo Woon continued, wanting his hands to separate from his body. The battle left extremely harsh cracks. Peng Guyu coughed uncontrollably. The soldiers saw this scene and angrily questioned. You bastard, how dare you? Suddenly Yin Buso told them. Stop. He glanced. Are they okay? Seeing that they are okay, Yin Buso thought softly. Fortunately, they are both still alive. Suddenly another character appeared behind them, sending chills down everyone's spine. They were talking loudly. That man was the Dark King. The soldiers were starting to get scared, causing a fuss. It seemed we wouldn't be able to get out of here. At this time, Yin Buso was struggling internally. The enemy was right in front of his eyes. It was definitely him. It was definitely that demon cult leader emitting an extremely threatening aura. That overwhelming aura was not suitable. With someone his age, even I cannot guess his martial arts position. Trembling with the sword in his hand, Yin Buso thought to himself, I really want to compete with him right away. But now having to hold back. To regain his composure, he took a breath. Yin Buso respectfully greeted. It is an honor to meet you. Demon Sect Master. Here you are. the eldest son of the master of martial arts Lam Min and the White Ring Squad's captain. Yin Buso. In front of the anxious weight of the soldiers, demon leader Yo Woon thought to himself, isn't he the successor of the 5 great masters famous throughout the world? Appointing a person when such a thing comes here. The martial arts alliance must be very nervous. Demon cult leader Yo Woon looked straight at Yin Buso and thought, the eldest son of the martial arts alliance leader. I have been compared to him. I still put my foot on Peng Gaiyu's head. The demon leader replied. Great. Yo Woon stepped forward. He said, so you must now be the representative of the martial arts alliance. Yin Buso replied tensely. Right now you can say that. Demon sect leader Yo Woon said with a full face. So are you ready to pay the price for the consequences of attacking us? Yin Buso. Red clouds surrounded the demon leader Yo Woon. Yin Buso silently exclaimed, what is this anger? At this time Peng Guyu still forced himself to stand up. No, I have to protect the public. Prince Yin Buso. He thought to himself. Master Yin Buso. Please don't. Fighting him is stupid. Let's give up the state religion. Yin Buso paused for about 2 seconds. Then his attitude was still respectful as he said, on behalf of the alliance to apologize to you. The demon leader gradually let down his guard. He looked as if was about to attack me. But I guess he won't do that. Suddenly Yin Buso spoke. From the alliance's standpoint, you demon sects have taken over our state religion. So we did do everything possible to try to change His Majesty's will. About that matter, I think that your side also has a part of responsibility. Demon sect leader Yo Woon asked harshly. What do you mean? Yin Buso continued. Aren't we allies with a common enemy? I don't think the demon leader will cause this relationship to break because of this. We will step back and abandon the state religion. So please release the disciples of Hangshan sect and the 2 heroes. When Peng Guyu heard these words, he also thought, I thought the young master would endure it and bow his head. But I didn't expect you to use such a cunning method. Monk Sa Tae also secretly admired. Yes, this is the best thing we can do right now. You said you would give up the state religion. So the demon sect master will not be able to refuse. This is a good plan. Young Master Yin Buso. Once again, Yin Buso said, please forgive the sect master. But things aren't that easy. Yin Buso was stunned when he heard the devil's leader reply. It seems like you're misunderstanding something. Yo Woon continued. It's up to the emperor to decide the state religion. But what right do you have to give up the state religion to us? The demonic leader Yo Woon's face struck steel as if he understood all of Yin Buso's intentions and said, because you cannot change the emperor's decision. So, that's why he rushed here to attack us to change the situation. Yin Buso exclaimed. That's. Now Yo Woon already has his weapon ready and continues. You guys attack first and realized that I was at a disadvantage. So now you're doing these trivial things. I'm really disappointed, but I'm not a good person. Demon cult leader Yo Woon emitted extremely strong murderous intent. He said with a serious face, at least I have to have one of your arms, so I can relieve my anger. Hearing that, Yin Buso immediately sweat dropped and replied, what you said sounds so scary. In my heart understood. He didn't want to negotiate. Yin Buso looked at Peng Guyu holding his wound and felt uneasy. I'm sorry for the 2 heroes. I avoided fighting to reduce the number of sacrifices. But it seems there is no other way. At this time, Yin Buso is still patient. I confess that I am very happy. Isn't it because you recognized my strength? Because the leader thought that you are a God-given opponent. Yin Buso was saying, in the political sect, I am also considered a genius. But without realizing it, the demon sect leader cut off your arm. With his sword strike, decisively and without hesitation, his arm fell to the ground. Yin Buso panicked and couldn't move in time. Yin Buso was thrown away. It was so magical. Yin Buso thought. Clearly he was right in front of my eyes. Yet I didn't see anything. He was so incredibly fast. Yin Buso had to exclaim. Is he that strong? Finally the demon sect master Yo Woon said. This sect has I got what I wanted. So do you want to continue the battle? Everyone, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel so I can release the next part.